The 2020 Toyota Corolla is completely redone and redesigned, bumper to bumper, wheels to roof. It's not just a plain Jane commuter car, and it's definitely not boring anymore, but there is definitely some give and take, and I'm gonna give you a full detailed look at everything and then go for a test drive. Starting out on the exterior, let's take a quick look at all of the features out here. Thank you so much for sticking around. Be sure to subscribe down below. So starting with the headlights, right up front, you can see the Triple J hook headlights right there that are pretty neat. You've got an incandescent turn signal down on the bottom. You even have an accent light that is not actually a fog light. There are no fog lights on the Corolla sedan, but every model gets LED headlights and LED daytime running lights. Those are standard, but the XLE, SE, and XSE get the high grade LED headlights, and optional for the top two trims are the adaptive front lights, which is what we have. At night, the headlights do pretty well. You can definitely see the Triple J shape in them. They are adaptive on our model, so they do a little dance when you turn the car on, and they swivel when you go around a corner, depending on what speed you're going. They do a pretty nice job. The distance isn't quite as good as I was expecting, but they're still pretty nice headlights. You can tell that this grille and this front end is a little bit different than it is on the Corolla hatchback that I had. And by the way, I do have a review on the Corolla hatchback. Please be sure to look in the description for that. That does have the manual option as well. So up front, the grills are gonna vary a little bit. There's gonna be a black front grille with sport mesh on the L trims and a sport mesh gray metallic grille like we have right here on the SE and the XSE. So the big thing is there's two main varieties with the Corolla. There's the L models, the L, LE, XLE, and then the S models, the SE and the XSE. And the L's the base, the XSE and XLE are the top trims that give you the most features. And this is the XSE right here, which is about $28,000. One of the big deals with the new Corolla is its brand new platform that it rides on. So it is now wider in the front, wider in the rear. Its hood was lower, the engine was mounted lower for a better center of gravity, so it definitely should ride and handle better, and we'll go through that in a little bit. As you see it right here, we are pretty much in the shade, but we have this blue color, which looks pretty nice, and honestly, sometimes it has a almost like a purpley look to it. It is a darker color, it does look pretty nice. I'd love to know what you guys think as well. And then once we get to the wheels are going to range from 15-inch steel wheels on the base trim up to 18-inch alloys, which is what we have right here. You'll get a couple different variations. Let me know what you think of those. 225 40 series tires with vented disc brakes in the front and solid rear disc brakes in the back. As we work our way up to the mirrors and door handles, all of the door handles are going to be painted body color just like they are on our particular model. The mirrors are going to be heated on everything except the base model. So for those of you in the winter, and then you'll get the LED turn signals in them on the XLE and the S trims. One thing you'll notice is the dark gray trim piece on the bottom of the car gives it a little bit more flair, almost like a side curtain, and that is on our particular model. It matches the rear spoiler. If you're curious about how long these cars are, so this is 182 inches. The Camry, the bigger car, is 192. And then the top competitor, at least the most compared car to the Corolla, is the Civic, which is about 183 inches. So they're just about an inch apart, and the Corolla is about 10 inches lower than the Camry. And one of the big deals with the new Corolla is that now we have a rear independent suspension, which should give us better driving, better handling, better ride comfort, all of that to help improve the driving dynamics. And we'll talk about that in the test drive. And then as we come around to the back, we've got these LED combination taillights for the LED stop and taillights here. And one thing with the S models is you'll get a smoked taillight housing. So it's a kind of a smokier housing back there, but still some incandescent turn signals and backup lights as well. And then we've got this dark gray spoiler right here, just to match the ones that we get on the side of the vehicle. You can see the blinker is on over there. We have the XSE badge, and you kind of have some more trim down here as well with a little diffuser and a dual chrome tipped exhaust, which will come on the S models because they are a little bit sportier. Now Toyota's done a lot with their safety features lately. We have Toyota Safety Sense 2.0, the most advanced Toyota Safety Sense standard on every trim of this 2020 Corolla. So that's going to give us the pre-collision system with the automatic emergency braking. That includes pedestrian detection, low light pedestrian detection, and then daytime cyclist detection, lane departure alert with steering assist, automatic high beams, full speed dynamic radar cruise control. The manual still gets radar cruise control, but not quite full speed, of course, because you will have to shift. And we have road sign assist, lane tracing assist, except for the manual. The manual does not get lane tracing assist. And then blind spot monitoring is optional equipment on the SE and LE, and then standard on the X trims. But as far as I can tell, there's no rear cross traffic alert. Now taking a look at the cargo area, if your Corolla is equipped with the smart key, right up underneath it here, if you have the key on you, you do have smart key access to the trunk. So right away, the opening for the trunk is actually pretty large. The trunk itself is not quite as big as I was hoping for. It's honestly low in the class. So it's 13.1 cubic feet. And just to give you guys an idea what it looks like with a couple of things in here, those seats do fold down as well. But I got a carry-on suitcase right there, my backpack, and just some smaller items like that take up some space pretty easily and pretty quickly. Each side does give you a little bit of extra room right there. And then for reference, that suitcase cannot stand up quite like that. And these kind of do impede on the storage as well. So something to consider. Of course, you're not going to get this car if you need a ton of trunk storage, but there are some better options. In fact, I believe even the new Mazda 3 even has more storage than this, which typically doesn't have a lot of storage. The Kia, Hyundai products have more storage. Honda has more storage. I believe the Jetta does as well. And then underneath of all of that, there is a temporary spare tire on every trim. For the 2020 Corolla, the smart key system is standard on the top trims and optional on everything except the base model. Same Toyota key fob that you've seen in a couple of the newer models, just like the Camry. It is pretty much completely plastic, but it's lightweight and slim and probably can take a few drops and a beating. Now, if you have the Audio Plus system, you have remote start with remote connect available on the XLE and XSE standard. So if we want to remote start with our key fob, it's kind of annoying. 1, 2, 3, and then you got to hold it. So if you want to remote start with the key fob, hit the lock button 3 times and then hold on the third. And then you got to hold it. And then you'll see the light start to flash. And there we go. Now if you want to do the remote start with your app through, or with your phone through the app, it is a subscription fee, so something to look into, just like it is on a lot of vehicles nowadays. And then with the sensor, that button or that thing right there locks it. All you have to do is touch it. And then to open the door, there's a sensor behind it. But with the remote start, when you open it up, the car shuts off. And I don't think they're the only ones that do this, but I think it's dumb and annoying. Leave your thoughts down below. Now, before I tell you about these front seats in the 2020 Corolla, I want you to know that these are hands down better and more comfortable than the last generation Corolla. I was just uncomfortable in those seats. I did not like them. I know people that drive the car and they're fine with it, but I didn't like them, and these are definitely better. So I'm going to go through each trim level and what they get for the seats. The L trim is going to give you 6-way manual cloth seats. The LE is going to add sport fabric to those seats. And the SSE is going to give you sport seats with a sport fabric insert. Once you get to the XLE, you get full Softex, which is Toyota's synthetic leather material with 8-way power adjustment and lumbar support. And then the XSE, like the SE, gives you these sport seats with the sport bolstering, but we also have the Softex with this blue kind of different unique colored insert. It's a sport fabric insert. I prefer all Softex because you can definitely tell you're on a different material, but it still feels pretty nice. These seats are pretty comfortable. I've had really no complaints with it. I do wish that the headrests were a little bit more adjustable to go forward or backwards. They only go up and down. Otherwise, the bolstering is good. The cushioning is good. I've had decent support. The lumbar support feels nice. And overall, in this cockpit, this kind of area right here, it just feels more sporty. And I'm sure that the bolstering on these seats really is a part of that. And one thing that surprised me is that the seat bottom and the seat back don't seem to be too narrow and squish me. Now, one thing that I'm disappointed with is that heated seats are only available with the XLE and XSE. So you can't get heated seats, let alone ventilated seats on the lower trims. No ventilated seats, no memory settings on any of these, unlike some of the competitors. And then with our steering wheel, it is manual, telescoping. and tilting function, and it's got a decent range of motion. I've been able to get it right where I want it to. It's only a leather steering wheel on the XLE and the S trims. Now, one thing to note, I am 5'9", and I have the seat all the way down, and I still don't really have a whole lot of room. I can fit a couple fingers above my head. We have this moonroof in our model, which I'm not sure if that cuts into our headroom, but something that you might want to check into. For the 2020 Corolla, the designers wanted a simple, inviting, and sensuous interior. They call it sensuous minimalism, but always Corolla comfortable and durable. Now, starting out over here on the door, we've got a softer material up above, a nice soft armrest right here as well with a little bit of padding. One touch up-down windows on all of those, and your mirror controls. And then this door handle is pretty nice, but you've got some fingerprint magnets right here with this piano black and potentially some scuffs and scrapes. I would like to see an actual spot for a door handle, because there's really not good places to put keys or phone in here. My large bottle does not necessarily fit in here. This is pretty small. This plastic is pretty rigid as well, but there's a little bit of storage down there. Right on the inside, we've got our interior lighting controls and our automatic high beam button. And I was disappointed with the door slam. Take it for what it is, but it just kind of wallops, and I was expecting better considering the brand new platform that this is on. Our steering wheel is similar to the other steering wheels we've seen lately from Toyota. You've got some radio controls, like the volume controls here, seeking and mode button over here. I wish those were on the same side. But you got controls for your screen, your information display, your voice controls, and then your radar cruise control over here. You can turn your lane keeping on with that, and steering assist. You've got your radar distance you can adjust right there. And our steering wheel even gives us some little paddle shifters as well. We might try those in the test drive. Push button start, foot on the brake. So this display is going to vary depending on which model you get. The lower trims get a 4.2-inch screen, but the XLE and XSE get this 7-inch information display. So there are a couple different ways that you can make this work. I have it set so that I have the digital speedometer, but you can have a regular looking speedometer as well. Then we've just got one trip computer on here. I was hoping for a second one, like an A and a B option. You have the mileage trip down there, but you can't actually track your efficiency, which, you know, something I'd expect in a car like this. But before I was sitting here filming, I was getting about 36 miles per gallon in mixed driving, which definitely is better than what it says. So that is awesome. Then we scroll through, you can see whether or not your systems like your lane keep and your radar cruise are even on. And then when they're active, you have an option to be able to watch those as well. Got a compass, which is nice. Your audio, you can see whether or not that's on. Here's our trip computer again as well. And you can customize a little bit of what you see here. And then you've got some of these settings. So one thing that I said is that we have blind spot monitoring, which is optional, but we don't have rear cross traffic alert. I didn't find any language of that on any of Toyota's materials. And nothing has beeped when something's crossed behind me, which is kind of standard nowadays when you have blind spot monitoring. Now for our infotainment, the base model is going to give us a 7-inch tablet style screen with a standard 6 speakers, Bluetooth, and Apple CarPlay, but no Android Auto. And then on the rest of them, you'll get this 8-inch screen that you see right here. We have the optional 9-speaker JBL sound system with subwoofer, which is definitely nice, and that comes with dynamic navigation. Otherwise, you get Toyota ScoutLink navigation. The JBL sound system also does sound pretty good. It's got really good bass for this car. I was not expecting it to be quite like that. So one nice thing about this screen that I like is that we have physical buttons on both sides. So you've got just a quick touch to whatever you need to. If you want to just go to your audio, you can do that. Since I don't have anything going, it went to our sources. We have Apple CarPlay on here, of course. When you go to your menu, there's a few things that you can go through, and when you go to your setup, there's some stuff that you can customize with your vehicle. You can even change the color in here a little bit, so if we wanted to go red, that's an option as well. To show you guys Apple CarPlay, hit that, works just like you'd expect. I still haven't heard anything about Android Auto, but something to potentially pay attention to if that's what you're really interested in. Another nice thing is that we have a real tuning knob and volume knob, but it just freely spins. There's really no feedback and it's pretty small. The screen isn't super responsive, but it does the job. And if we take a look at our map, we can touch and drag and pinch and zoom as well, so some conveniences with that. Now, one thing that surprised me down below the screen here is, well, first of all, we have these AC vents, which do a nice job of blowing back to the back seat because they're right in the middle. But right here we have single zone automatic climate control. There's no dual zone anywhere. I was expecting that in the top end Corolla, considering it's pretty much a normality nowadays in just about any style or class of car. But it's worked just fine for me. You even have an eco option if you really want to be conscious of that and get more fuel efficiency. And of course your physical buttons right here as well, fan speed and temperature right there. Now right below the AC controls, we have a wireless charging mat. And the wireless charging mat is optional equipment on the X models, but it's really small. It's just a really small storage area. I don't have a wireless charging phone, so I don't have much use for it, but my phone fits there. But whenever I put my stuff in here in my phone, I always tend to hit one of these heated seat buttons. And these are 2-tier heated seat buttons. They will stay on, so you don't have to turn it on every time you get in the vehicle. Turn your wireless charging on. I just would like to see a better storage solution because that dash juts out a whole bunch. So it just really covers it up, which is good if it's just a phone, but there's just no other storage area right here. Then we've got some piano black surrounding our shifter, and the shifter does feel pretty nice. It is leather wrapped. One more little complaint that I have is that when we shift into reverse, we've got a pretty large clear backup camera, but if I turn the wheel, there's still no dynamic guidance lines whatsoever. And no rear cross traffic alert. I would just expect that considering the competition is offering that. Right in front of that we have our sport button, and then just hit it again for normal traction control. Automatic electronic parking brake. It turns on every time you go into park, and then your brake hold. My large bottle fits in these bins. The rear one seems to give you a little bit more space, but it's kind of tight. And again, there's just no extra storage. I would just like somewhere to put my keys or my phone if I don't want to reach up under there. Some little items that are with me. That's my biggest complaint of the interior. And the dash just juts out a whole bunch. You know, it's got a nice soft material on it, but it juts out a whole bunch, and I just don't really care for that. The armrest is soft. It's fairly small, of course, for this class, but geez, it can move forward just to one notch like that to cover up the first cup holder. And when we look inside, we've got a fast charging port, 12-volt power outlet, and just, you know, some decent little storage. By the way, the other power port is right up here with an auxiliary port as well. The visor has a sliding extension piece as well as a vanity light and mirror. Another thing that sort of surprised me is that there's no automatic dimming rearview mirror. Standard on any trim or optional on the trims, and no garage controls as well, which is another thing I was expecting. We have controls for our lights and our moonroof up here. And then in terms of the visibility, the front pillars are pretty skinny. The headrests can be moved. So visibility, you know, not great for a car, but not too bad either. Looking over the shoulder, there's a pretty good gap right there to see next to you. Now hopping into the back seat of the 2020 Corolla. We've got the same seats that we've got in the front with the blue kind of sport fabric insert, which looks pretty cool. It kind of gives it a nice little vibe back here. The seats are fairly upright, as you'd expect in a class like this, but at 5'9", sitting behind myself, I've got enough foot space, I've got enough knee space. The seats can go back quite a ways as well, so I'm comfortable enough. And when I'm sitting up tall, I don't know if you can quite see that, but I can fit my fingers above my head, but not much else. And if I go to scoot to the middle, my head touches the ceiling. Now, one thing that you don't get on the base model is this fold down armrest. Otherwise, you get this on the rest of them that has some padding and space for a couple cup holders. Now, one thing that's common with every Corolla is there's no charging ports back here and there's no AC vents back here. All you have is a little storage bin right in front of you just for a couple small items, and then we have a mat pocket on this front seat. Now for your passengers, if they care, they have a nice soft armrest on the door. Otherwise, it's hard touch surface up above. The 2020 Corolla gives you 3 different power plant options. So first, for the L trims, LLE and XLE, get the 1.8 liter 4-cylinder engine that is port injected only, just like it was last time, same engine carrying over for those trims. And then you have a hybrid option, which I'll hopefully get my hands on later for a different review. And then we have this 2.0 liter direct and port injected 4-cylinder engine. No turbos, nothing like that, just your basic naturally aspirated engine. And this 2.0 liter 4-cylinder is going to put out 169 horsepower, 151 pound-feet of torque at 4,400 RPM. The 1.8 liter has your regular CVT transmission. This one has the dynamic shift CVT transmission that actually has a physical first gear, and then you get the CVT. And it does mimic some shifts, and we'll go through how it drives in a little bit. Another transmission option is the 6-speed manual, which I drove in the Corolla hatchback, and it is a pretty nice manual as well, especially for the class, and it does have rev matching. The only thing about the manual, if you want it, it's only available on the SE trim, not the XSE like this one. Now for miles per gallon, the SE 6-speed manual with the 2 liter is going to get 29 city, 36 highway, 32 combined. The CVT with the SE is the most fuel efficient of the bunch, even more fuel efficient than the smaller underpowered engine. So with the SE CVT 2.0 liter, it's going to be 31 city, 40 highway, 34 combined. And then the XSE model with the 2 liter engine is going to be 31 in the city, 38 on the highway, and 34 combined. So still the same combined number, and I've been doing pretty well with my MPGs. And the only thing about this is it's front wheel drive only. Thank you so much for sticking around for the test drive. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to tell you what it's like after living with this Corolla for about a week now, driving it to work, driving it through town, all of that good stuff. So my first impression is that the Corolla feels more solid. It just feels like a more substantial car. It still feels light on its feet, but it just feels better than the old Corolla. And it sits lower, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. That is definitely one thing for those of you that have trouble getting in and out of low cars, that might be a problem. Now, right off the bat, one thing I want to complain about is that I'm on a rougher textured road, puts more vibration in the car, more noise in the car, and the road noise is not that good. It's definitely kind of loud on a surface like this. On smoother interstate at higher speeds, it seems to be just fine, but on this road, I've noticed some squeaks, some vibrations, nothing dramatic, but I don't know if you can hear that, but it seems to kind of be coming from the passenger B-pillar. This B-pillar over here, the little seatbelt buckle vibrates, so maybe put a piece of tape on there. But I was not expecting that with this new platform. So that's something I want to complain about right away. Especially compared to the Mazda 3 that I was just in, even the Hyundai Elantra I was recently in, this is not as quiet as those. Now right off the bat, just in normal mode, front wheel drive only. So we got a fixed first gear, feels normal right away, and then floored. And to my surprise, this 2 liter engine actually is peppier than I was expecting. Most of you aren't going to care or need a peppy engine, but it's an improvement over the 1.8 liter from last generation. And the 1.8 liter is still standard on the L trims. So right off the bat, one thing Toyota wanted to improve on was handling and ride comfort, and they did. The handling in here, the steering feel is pretty good. It's certainly not as sporty as the Mazda 3, but it holds its own around some corners, and we'll try to get hustled around a couple corners later. But in just daily driving, you feel very planted to the road, you feel secure, you feel good driving this car. You sit, you just feel like you're in complete control. The actual ride comfort is also good. We have an independent rear suspension that helps in all aspects. Handling on some small bumps, really don't notice it. It's a tad bit of a stiffer ride, but it's not a harsh ride, not by any means. I've been comfortable in here. I've never been annoyed by any bumps or anything like that. The handling feels good. That's definitely probably one of my favorite things about this year's Corolla is that it just drives better. It rides better, it handles better, and it's just a better overall car. Now, if I hit a couple of these bumps, you could maybe hear a little bit of that vibration. It honestly sounds like there's some plastic in here, and I just don't know what it is. I've pushed on stuff, I've moved things, and it's just, I'm just definitely a nerd about rattles, especially in a new car. So hopefully it's just this particular model. If you own one, comment down below and let me know. The braking on the new Corolla, it feels good. The pedal's not super light. You have to push a little bit to be able to get some juice out of it, but the brakes work well. I haven't had any emergency situations, but just testing it, it feels good and it works just fine. Now, I've told you a little bit about just kind of living with it, the ride, the handling, the comfort, the noise. I'm going to put it in sport mode, and we're going to kind of push it around a couple corners and just get on it a little bit and have a little bit more fun. All right, so just in sport mode, going to test out the CVT. And as you could tell, it mimics some gears, and they're a little bit harsh at times, but you know, it feels more natural. Kind of feels like more of a regular transmission, automatic. But look at this. I feel very flat and comfortable going around this corner, which is surprising. I would not have expected that previously. And in sport mode, it's holding the RPMs at 3,000. Not quite pedal down. A little bit of acceleration, still holds the RPMs. So passing people, I haven't really actually had much trouble with passing people, which is good. I was a little worried about that. Some cars, you know, you just feel underpowered. This isn't underpowered necessarily. It's just not the fastest in class. The Civic is certainly more powerful. Even the peppy early option from the Jetta is pretty powerful, or at least kind of gives you a push in the back. The Mazda 3 I was just in, definitely more powerful, but this is efficient and it's smooth enough. It doesn't sound all that bad. It's kind of a loud powertrain though. Now I'm going to put it in manual mode real quick. It says I'm in 4th gear, mimicked gear of course, downshift, 3rd gear, 4th gear, 5th. And that's kind of crazy how they do that with the CVTs now. It mimics the gears just fine, so you can kind of have a little bit more fun with it if you want to. Now I'm going to put cruise control on and my lane keep assist. And if you want to see a detailed look at how that works, by the way, don't drive without your hands. I'm just trying to show you. Check out my Kia Telluride video where I go through the smart cruise control. So I'm going to kind of turn to the side, and the steering wheel kept me in the lane. Same thing here. Beeps at me, pushes me back in my lane. I have noticed that this does tend to want to kind of ping pong you back and forth a little more than I would prefer, but it keeps you in your lane, it keeps you centered. When you have your cruise control going, it keeps you centered. Otherwise, it's just the lane departure and lane keep assist where it will just prevent you from leaving your lane. Now, in conclusion, with this 2020 Corolla sedan, I did drive the hatchback, so if you want to see the hatchback, please be sure to check that out with the manual. My biggest dislike here is the road noise and the rattle that I've experienced in here. I was expecting it to be toned down a little bit. Obviously, they don't want it to be as quiet as a Camry, but still a little more would be nice. As you can tell, I'm on a louder road again, and it's louder in here. But anyways, if you're looking for a commuter car, a car in the $20-something thousand range, the Corolla is a fine option. I would not at all say it's the best option, probably not even top 3. I think the way the Kia Forte came out with its features and its price point is probably hard to beat. But you're probably still going to get a reliable Corolla. It's simple. You got a direct and port injected engine, which should be good for the engine instead of completely direct injection. You've got several features that you want, but we're also missing some features, like no automatic dimming mirror, no ventilated seats. Those are not necessarily things you need, of course, but things that other cars offer. No dual zone climate control is another big thing. I was just kind of surprised by that, and I think Toyota's price point is just too high for the features that they offer. If efficiency is on your mind, this is definitely efficient. I've had good efficiency the entire time I've had the vehicle. And overall, I really can't complain about how it drives. I love how it drives. It drives great for this class. So let me know down below which one you would go for and why you would go for it. Be sure to check out my Mazda 3 hatchback review, Hyundai Elantra review, and the Corolla hatchback review that I did last year. But thank you so much for watching. Subscribe down below if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.